ClickerBait, the Last of Us TV show podcast where we, three gamers, come together to unpack the HBO show, and three of us have, a few things in common. One of those being The Last of Us. The other things I'm not going to tell you about until maybe another episode.
Correct.
Yeah, but it is our favorite game of all time. So if you love the game, the show, and everything in between, there's some comics. So if you like those, you're in a good spot. We talk about all of it here. And of course, join us every Monday after the episode airs on Sundays. Monday nights, we'll be recapping each and every episode of season 2. And oh boy, this one's a doozy. But yeah, you should follow us, twitch.tv/JKGamesPodcast, so you get notified when we are talking about these episodes. Now tonight, we are going to go into, we're going to be spoiler heavy from the jump. I don't know what I was trying to get from the jump.
Yeah,
sure.
That.
They both mean the same thing. We're gonna spoil the heck out of this thing this evening. So if you haven't played the games or don't know what's happening next, this is probably not the place to be, but continue at your own risk. We tried keeping last week's episode spoiler free for a bit, but we found that sort of held us back a little bit, like really deep diving our thoughts, and we held back a little bit, and we don't want to be able to do that. We want to let our tongues out of the cages. And if you've listened to a show before, my cage is my teeth.
Yeah.
And I'll click it. The tongue is the clicker. It wants out. Let
him out.
Let him out. So we want to just prep y'all that we are about to just dive into spoilers. Yes.
We're in there.
So yeah, if you listen to the show, it'd be super helpful. If you haven't played the game, so let us know like what's working, what's not. We want to make sure that this is the best place to discuss the Last of Us TV show and the game occasionally.
Woo.
We assume all of you have probably played the games here. High Score Weekly, I know for a fact, literally was on the show a few weeks ago talking about the game.
Yeah.
Rabbit 128. You've played, right?
You've played. If he hasn't played, he was there for just about every episode of me and Rose streaming the game.
So
he is a knower.
Oh, great. I love a
Yes.
knower. I'm glad he was able to watch you play. So that was it. What best way to experience The Last of Us is watching Patrick play. That's a dream.
Stop it.
That's a dream. But yeah, before we get into this gut punching episode,
oh my God,
stabbing in the throat episode, little steak. It's not a steak. It was like, part of a golf club.
Yeah.
That was rough. Let me introduce the ClickerBait babies joining me this evening. That's my baby sound. Kayla, what's your baby sound?
Goo goo gaga.
Welcome to the show, Kayla.
Gaga.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. And I'm even better now that the French dip design is in the chat and they have been subscribed for 4 months. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I have a lot of thoughts. I told everyone that spoiler, get out of here if you don't know. I have witnessed the scene. I'll just say the scene because I'm scared to go ahead and spoil it. 4 times in the past 24 hours because I've been prepping for you to give you all the things that I think in the show and also in the game. So I can't wait to dive in and talk all of our thoughts because we have mostly kept each other in the dark about how we feel.
Yeah.
But if you ever want like a little sneaky peeky at what we think and also a fun place to talk about the show like as it's airing, and also you can go back and we're really good about spoilers on our Discord, which I have pinned a link to if you want to check that out. If you're listening to on demand afterwards, you can find all of our links on our socials, which is just JK Games Podcast everywhere. We do have a different feed for the podcast itself. So make sure if you're looking for it to just search ClickerBait and it'll take you where you need to go. But yeah, I'm hyped, Jerica. I'm ready to go.
I just realized in this intro, I'm not saying my name at all, but do I need to?
I think you should.
I'm Jerica,
Well,
one of the hosts here. Just in
Perfect.
case you missed it and this might be your first time. You're like, who is this lady talking? Well, it's me.
Yeah.
It's Jerica.
The
All right.
hostess with
This
mostess.
other ClickerBait baby joining us that, is at least, they do this with babies. 24 months old. That's 2 years. I can do math. And this ClickerBait baby that's 24 months years old can't walk. None of that made sense. This baby's just struggling to walk. That was me trying to make a joke, Patrick.
Would you believe I'm 400 months old? I just Googled it.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate
This
that.
400-month-old baby. Always a pleasure to be here. In fact, very exciting because this evening I am both co-hosting this podcast and attending Jake Twitchen's bar mitzvah, which he mentions in the chat. Looks like I'm dressed to go
Lovely.
there. So Mazel. Let's talk about The Last of Us, and maybe it'll be a bris too. Who's to say?
Who's
Probably
to say?
not.
Who's to say? I never
Who
know.
is to say? Oh my God. I can't wait.
Yeah.
We gotta rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to ask that question.
No. Let's not.
Let's not.
Any golfers in chat?
Sure. Let's go there.
Listen,
Any
one
popes in chat? R.I.P. The
Whoa.
Pope Francis.
man,
Yeah.
there's a lot of death is surrounding us this weekend.
Yes.
I will add one time I think I've been golfing twice, maybe.
Okay.
At least once, because this is the time I can remember this vividly. I was probably in, I don't know, I was in middle school, let's just say that, and was golfing. Never golfed any other day in my life. Took a swing at the ball, connected.
Yeah.
The ball went and like busted one of the lights that was
Whoa.
on the
Perfect.
field, the golf field, which I don't
You
know.
did
Why
it.
are there lights normally on a golf field? Like who's golfing at night? I don't
well,
know.
we call it a course.
The golf field is crazy.
Listen, it's a field that you play sports in. That's what we call them where I'm from. We're going out to the field to play ball,
Yeah.
including the golf. The
I'm
golf
not playing
balls.
nothing in no field. I'm drinking in the field. You know what I mean? That's all I'm doing.
I know what you mean, brother. Look, and to be clear, I know about 90% of my golf knowledge from Mario Golf. So I don't necessarily consider myself a true knower. But I did grow up in a household where all of a sudden, every April, it's Sunday night. It's like, oh, there's all of a sudden golf on the TV because the Masters were on. That's about
Do
as
we
much
think-
golf as I know.
Do we think they timed the Masters in this episode?
It had to. That Easter on the third day, all that. I mean,
It's
a lot
just
of
uncanny if
connections
not.
here. A lot
Speaking
of
of-
connections here.
French Dip says, or High School Weekly said, do you think the Pope got to see the episode?
I hope so.
But that probably what did it. That and a few other things that happened before he died
Well,
too.
I hope so.
That's for another podcast.
I
Yeah.
hope so.
Anyways.
Do we think Ezio Auditore da Firenze killed this pope?
Could be.
That's an Assassin's Creed 2
Yeah.
reference.
Yeah, I could see
Went
that.
over in my head.
Or one of these. It might not be 2. It doesn't matter. Let's talk about The Last of Us.
Enough of that. Wait, Patrick, did you want to share your dream that you had about me and Pedro?
Fuck. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I wrote a note. So I had a dream the other night.
Let's go.
It's a 1-2
had a
part.
dream.
So I had 2 dreams.
Uh-huh.
And the first dream, I think it's important to start with dream 1 to lead into dream 2 to set the stage. So, and I actually totally forgot to tell my wife about these dreams too. So if she's listening, my first dream was about Rose. And Rose in this dream, for some reason, wanted to leave me. Unclear why. I mean, who knows why? But
Did you wake up mad at her? Because I usually do that.
I think I woke up upset that she
Okay.
wanted to leave me. And then for some reason, even though she wanted to leave me, she joins. We go to visit Kayla in Alabama.
Aww.
In the world of this dream, Kayla owns a bar for some reason in Alabama, which is a total slay. And we're there just like saying hi. You're showing us the drinks in the house or whatever. And then all of a sudden, Pedro Pascal shows up with his agent. And we're like, why is Pedro here? And we're gonna like trying to act cool, play it cool, like, oh my God, the star of The Last of Us and all the other hit things is at Kayla's bar. We're so excited. And then, but like he sits down, he has that like, I know who you know who I am vibe, but like in a fun, playful way, not in like a mean way. And so Kayla and I are just like, you know what? Fuck it.
Yeah.
We're just going to approach the man and go say hi.
Yeah.
We talk about our love for the show, our love for his acting. He's all for it. He's like, I love that someone has come up to me and is engaged with this. We become fast friends. I've talk about how I used to be an actor, I guess, as a way to connect with him actively being an actor.
I used to be an actor.
Exactly. And that my story really touched him. He was very moved by my story and how now I podcast instead of act. I'm really trying to convince myself something, I think, in that part of the dream. And then he's like, hey, you want to get out of here to me? And I'm like, yes. Tragically, Kayla stays behind because she has to run the bar. So me and Pedro leave.
I would quit.
And so the reason I wanted to start with the beginning of the date, since that Rose wanted to leave me, now Pedro's asking me out. So I'm like, well, I think I'm gonna have to say yes to this. Although even if part one didn't have anything, Rose would still be like, yes, and also I'm coming too. So we have a cute little dream montage, just like hitting the town. In Alabama, I won't dox you other than the state. I don't know what you've said before. And then as we're like, who's like, what's going to happen past that? I'm then woken up by my wife, woken up because I was snoring so loud.
Oh, that was a good dream.
You didn't get to know what happened.
So I didn't get to reach the end of the dream because of my fucking nose.
Wow.
Yeah. Jerica, an unfortunate lack of you in this dream, but that doesn't mean you weren't there. I was
probably back in the hotel room. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, I know what you're saying.
Rose petals on the bed, just
I know exactly
laying
what
there,
you're saying.
dressed up as a clicker.
Yeah. Waiting for Pedro.
Just a bra. That's it. In my clicker mask, nothing else.
Yeah. I wrote in my 3 a.m. scribbles of this dream, I wrote, and then I was unceremoniously woken up by Rose, shaking the shit out of me. She claims I was snoring. I'm sure I was. But I know she knows that I was about to close up shop and leave with Pedro.
Oh my God. Not French dip St. Patrick got a little sweetness to him. That's so funny.
Pin that.
Patrick's got a little sweetness to him is so fucking funny.
That is so funny. Oh my God. Thank you for sharing. That was a great way to intro this lovely episode, which I want to know. Jerica, I know a little bit about what Patrick thinks. I know nothing about what Jerica thinks, which is incredible.
You never do. Even if I try to tell you, you might be like, I don't know what she's thinking.
But normally I think I know you well enough to where I think I know how you feel. But I don't want to predict fully because that might not be fun for people to hear me babble about how much I know my co-host. But you might get that in a few weeks on another.
Whoa, Dido hint plug.
Hint plug, secret plug.
Secret hint
the rest
plug.
of the co-hosts don't even know about. Patrick, take us away. Start us out.
Yeah, so we're as Jerica kind of mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to try a little bit of a different format. Mostly, we're still going to get our lovely impressions of episode 2 through the valley of HBO's hit series, The Last of Us. But instead of going through a quick recap and then kind of diving deep, we're going to start with our initial impressions. So let's go around the horn. What did we think, high level, of last night's episode? Jerica, Kayla so lovingly wanted to start with you, and I agree. Jerica, let's start with you on your thoughts of episode 2.
As a big gamer, and a big gamer that's actually played this game a few times, I have to land on, I liked the episode. Couple caveats.
Okay.
That, this was a big episode, but last week, similar things. I'm really excited for the changes they made. Yeah. But will I love these changes? I don't know yet because I don't know how they're going to pay off just yet. So overall, I think, and we got some extra stuff we didn't get in the game, which is great. We'll get into it later.
Sure.
I liked it. It was good. I think this episode and the last one are both ranked similarly to me. A little more action in this one, but, it didn't blow up my skirt. Yeah. Fully. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know what you're saying. I am pretty aligned. It didn't blow up my skirt either. And I the more I've sat with it, the lower I've gotten on the episode. I think they hit their marks well. Thinking of big battles and these kinds of things. They did all the things well. I just don't know how well I like the way they all mixed together. I think it was a good episode. I think it's It's probably like in my top half of episodes of The Last of Us, but closer to the middle though. Like it's definitely not one of my favorite episodes of the entire series so far. And we'll kind of get into more specifics later, but I would say certainly a lot weaker than last week's episode to me. But yeah, so I was pleased, but boy, did this episode pack for me a much bigger punch than the game did. And like in ways that I both liked and didn't like, which we'll get more into. But Kayla, what about you? What did you think?
I'm not used to being the confrontational one on the episode,
Yeah?
but I think I might be. There's a lot of things that I don't like about this episode, but it's tough because there is things I do like, and I think that some of the things that I like supersede the things I don't like. So I'm feeling still a little bit torn even after watching it twice. Like I watched it twice. I replayed some of the scenes in the game. I watched some of the cutscenes for future things so I would have them fresh of mind. But overall, I think I agree with Jerica. Like I don't know how all the changes that they made are going to impact my overall experience.
Sure.
When we look at the season as a whole. But yeah, definitely not as hot on the episode as I was the first one. I don't know if I can stick a rating to it yet. Do you guys feel like you can rate yours, or what do you think?
I would probably say like a 7 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
3.5 out of 5 for me ish.
I'm at a 4 out of 5. Yeah, like I didn't love it. I liked this episode for different reasons. You know what I'm trying to say. Like there was things I liked about the first episode and this episode that gave it a higher ranking for me.
Sure.
But both episodes did not have the other stuff that I don't know what I'm trying to say. They both had things that I liked, and then they were both missing some things that I was like, eh.
Yeah.
But overall, 4 out of 5.
Boom.
Okay. I think I actually align with Pat. I think 3.5.
Yeah.
If I'm getting really granular.
Yeah.
And I never actually said my episode ranking or my rating for last episode, but I think it was a 5 actually for episode 1. Yeah. But not this episode. Don't clip that incorrectly, people.
We're watching, y'all.
Yeah.
Okay, well let's jump into the episode. So we're gonna go kind of beat by beat and dive in. So the episode starts with, I'm going to editorialize some of this, so get fucking ready. It starts with a weird fucking Abby dream sequence of her walking in. We get the beer, Abby walking in at Salt Lake after everything's gone down. And she starts like having a conversation with herself, like her present self that's sleeping outside of Jackson, and is like, don't go in there. You're not going to like what you see. And she's like, who are you? It's like, it's your face. Like, for me, it was one of those weird things. Like, why do you not recognize yourself? They're not doing anything to like make it seem like it's not her. So it's just weird that she doesn't recognize herself when she looks virtually identical. But she says, don't go in there because there's brains. And Abby goes in there anyway. And then we see modern day Abby, present Abby, crying as she goes in. We don't hear any sort of reaction, but we know what she sees. This, as you can tell, I did not like how this episode opened. Rabbit says, strange dream, says Patrick, who dreams of Pedro. This dream, not as good as my dream. What did y'all think of this?
I didn't like this.
Nope.
No.
I think we're aligned here.
Yeah.
Nope.
And I guarantee, because this is can you guys hear the thunder in the background?
I could hear the thunder.
I heard
that's
that.
so crazy.
Thought you were rolling around.
That's me.
Thought I was rolling around on the desk.
I'm being very dramatic. I'm not actually that mad, but I didn't like this. And I just continue like, why are they giving her such cheesy dialogue?
It's the dialogue is so bad.
Why?
Yeah.
And it's just like not fair. And I feel like nobody else has that. Like, why are they giving her such cheesy lines? And I know she's a great actress, so it's not her acting, like, because she's done so many things and so many other things that I love. So I don't slight Caitlin Dever for this, but like some of her lines are just very odd. And exactly, heroic headgear. It should have just been the flashback of her finding her dad, which does happen in the game. And I actually rewatched. I didn't get to that point in the gameplay because, by the way, it's at the end of the freaking game, which I have thoughts on. But no, I didn't like this.
Yeah.
In short.
It's one of those instances that still, I think about last week's episode with the dance, like, and there was dialogue there and they copied a lot from the game. I know, but it's almost like that. If they were going to start with that scene, like, I'd rather there have been no dialogue at all, like just actions, like say less or say more with less is definitely something they should do. Or make her sound a little, it's just weird. It's weird.
Part of me feels like they are trying to overcompensate with this different direction they're taking Abby in, since she's not physically threatening as she is in the game. I feel like they're trying to bolster up her, like, not even just emotionally, but like, I don't know. Yeah. And like you said, Kayla, I feel like the dialogue that they are giving her in effort of achieving this is just, it's all so cheesy.
No, and I know I'm already on my hot seat, but like I'm under the impression, to go ahead and get this like on the table really quick, I don't think her physicality has anything to do with why I'm upset by the character. And I do think that is very unfair for people to say.
Sure.
And I do think it is a loaded feedback with some of the direction that some people, I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but like definitely to me, that doesn't affect the way I view her. But I do think that the reason why she is pretty like large and oppressing in the game, there's intentionality behind that.
Yeah.
So I think like if you are going to do that in a different way in the show, it needs to be just as intentional with maybe the overall vibe that she's giving off. And I do think you see some of that later on, which we'll get into. Blaster Goblin says, in my opinion, this episode has been reviewed unfairly by most. Justice for episode 2. I promise I do like some things.
Listen,
that they do.
We gave it actually a pretty decent score. Better, it's not an IGN score. I gave it a 6. So like,
Did they really?
6 is low.
Yeah, that's a little too low. But I don't know what other people are giving it. I saw that this morning. I was like, ooh, ouch.
Yeah, and I think that like this is getting a little bit early, but I think I like a lot of the timeline changes they did in the first episode.
Yeah.
But I think that hurts some of the action in this. And I still stand by that I just don't like knowing all of her intentions right now. And that, to me, that is going to make it for a weaker outcome later on when I don't know. There's some problems I have with that, but we're talking about the first scene. I didn't like it. And I do think that there's some things that I like with her later, but this one was not one of them, the opening scene.
Yeah, I think to kind of put a pin in this for now, Squinky makes a good point in the chat. I think a part of the physicality from the game was to show this was her obsession. I think the show is trying to shorthand that. I feel like, I agree.
That's
I feel
what I was
like,
trying to get at.
Yeah, like I do think that the physicality is important. And I understand and can recognize and be fine with. I mean, Caitlin's just a small person. She's like, you see her next to Owen. She's just short. Like, so I don't know that she's ever going to get to like a big, super buffed up, bulked up. And that's fine. But I do think there is still, like you said, there is an intentionality behind the size in the game. So I just hope that eventually they can recreate that in their own way. And so far, to me, they are not. And that's why I have concerns. Yes. But after this, she wakes up. She's in the lodge in the mountains like she is in the game with her crew. They wake up and they're overwhelmed at how big Jackson is in the daytime. They fear it's going to be too big and protected to even find Joel. And Owen reveals he has a plan that he's working on but needs some time because Abby's getting a bit flustered that they're all feeling like this mission is no longer going to be doable. And she goes out to go on patrol to do some scouting, and then we find out Owen shares that the plan is just to convince her to leave. This was an addition from the game. We didn't get this much of the dialogue between the group. This part I was more okay with than the previous stuff from the episode before, but it's still, some of it still feels a bit ham-fisted to me, a bit schmackedy to me between this group so far. What did y'all think about this little extra bit from the game with the crew?
I was able to take away that, like, okay, I honestly can't tell from trying to separate playing the game from the show. Like, I can't tell how long these people have been working together. I have no backstory or even like enough dialogue between them to know like how close they are. All I know is they don't agree with what Abby's doing, and nobody's on board. Like,
and that's a bit odd, right?
Except Manny might be a little on board. He's a little rougher around the edges, but Mel and I forget her name, Nora. You can tell they haven't really had a whole lot of lines, and they're just like, oh, this is my job. Okay, but do we really have to do this? Let's just go. It's a lot of that right now, which might be intentional to just still keep their backstory for next season. I don't know, but as of right now, it's just like there's these strangers that don't agree with their boss or the leader.
Yeah, and it's like, it's kind of odd to me how much they're, because like in the game, like when they're killing Joel later in the episode, which we'll get to, they're like at a point they're like, okay, you're going too far, we need to stop. But they always seem to be very, very aligned with the goal with Abby.
Yeah,
and in the show,
they're derpy. They're like me. If there was like me and 5 other me's with a more crankier me trying to kill somebody. That's basically it. But yeah, they were, and we'll get to this later, but I do think like if the tone would shift to where this is, they were Fireflies. They've been working with the WLF now. Like, where is there more like serious strategic, like, energy? Like, where is that at? And I just don't see that from them just yet.
And I wonder if part of the choice is like kind of what we were just talking about, Kayla, of like trying to give a bit of a different flair to the character of Abby. Maybe this is their attempt at that, of like she has some control over this group and they're like afraid of her. But then I'm like, why? Like, why? Like, what about her makes you afraid? I don't know. It's like there's this weird dissonance between the group that I'm struggling with right now. Do you feel like that, Kayla?
I do. And Ryan Selvey said in the chat, and there's a lot of great conversation in the chat, so thank you guys for keeping that going. I think that they all agree Joel is bad, but they're on different levels of hate and choosing killing as solution.
Sure.
I agree. And it's definitely different, a pivot from the game, because like replaying the game, like you feel a communal like decision being made. Like, yes, there's some levels of like degree of involvement, but like our Score Weekly said, like Manny like spits on his body in the game. Like he and then they like really discuss like what they're doing. Like you can tell like Abby is the ringleader and they're obviously letting Abby have her way like with him. Mm-hmm. But I also like, let's pivot and just pretend like we're just looking at the show. With how not on board the whole group is, do we really think they would have let her demolish his body the way that she did for so long? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, and so, I mean, maybe the answer is yes. I don't know.
Seems like they're all a bunch of little bitches in this situation. You know what I'm saying? Like someone needs to put the foot down. Come on.
Okay. and you know, yeah. So this tidbit was interesting, how you get like the kind of insight that Owen is trying to convince her to not do this. And, you know, they're really hinting at the relationship between the two of them, like the way that she's like rubbing his back.
Yeah.
And like, they don't say it. And at this point in the game, you already know that he's with Mel, which you don't know in the show.
Sure.
And you know that she's pregnant already.
Yeah, good point.
In the game, they say it there. Like he said, yeah, like I'm with Mel now. They address it pretty early on in the game that they were a thing and they're no longer a thing, and that he's with Mel.
Right.
But before she goes on her because she's kind of like upset when she goes by herself in the snow in the game, because she finds out that Mel is pregnant already early on in the game. And I don't even know if they do that. I think they have to do that in this show.
Sure.
And based on some of the violence that we've seen already, like I definitely don't think they're going to shy away from all of that. Yeah, Leanne Weaver says they know they weren't all on board and honestly seemed a bit afraid of her. Going back to it, it seems like they're watching her just become completely unhinged by her revenge push. Yeah, and I don't mean like in the game they're not all on board, but they're definitely more. I feel like they're more of a cohesive unit, it seems, in the game, if that makes sense.
Sure. And I do think like more of them are on, like you said, like Manny going out and spitting on the body of Joel. Like and like in the show, he calls him a pendejo. Like it's not like they're just skipping that entirely, but I feel like, I just feel like there's a bit more inner conflict with the group than I feel like makes sense. But I like, you know, that's just how I feel.
And we might
maybe they take that more. Maybe they do more with that.
Maybe. Yeah, could be.
So they might have stories between them that we've never seen in the game, the why they're not working as well together. So maybe they go further with some of that in the show.
I would love, whether it's after episode 7 or next season, look back and be like, man, when Patrick talked about the beginning of episode 2, he was so fucking wrong. I hope I say that.
I do too. Yeah. And I'm open to that. Like we covered this last week, where I think most of you guys watching live have seen that. I'm all for the creative liberties. Yeah. I do think that you need to keep the same like framework, which we'll talk more about later.
Yeah.
But
well, we cut back to Jackson after we get a little bit of that with the group. We get the scene almost word for word from the game of Jesse waking up Ellie to go on patrol. Yes. Except they've made a few different changes. The town is now on alert because they have found some infected that were using other infected as insulation out in the snow. So they're fearing that maybe there's going to be a group of infected that make their way to Jackson. They're just kind of starting to talk about that. And then we also find out that Ellie wants to go on patrol with Joel because she says they are, quote, okay. But he left earlier that morning with Dina because he wanted to let Ellie sleep in. That hurt.
It did hurt. And I'm glad that they added that, because
I love this addition.
I'm glad that they added this because I think you're missing that a little bit in the show. So I do think that helps, especially with like some of the people I've talked to that are not game knowers. Like I think this helped a little bit. And I do think they're almost alluding at another conversation we haven't seen that we will probably get later, for sure.
I think they're alluding to the porch conversation, as Swanky just said, that the show will probably end, almost end with, right before the very, very final moment, probably.
Yeah.
Because, there's like a little bit of a change here where in the game, as we all probably know, she goes on patrol with Dina. Joel goes on patrol with Tommy. So like that's a change. And now she's going on patrol with Jesse. But I love that they just kept the, that, like Ryan says in the chat, like that banter that they have with Jesse and Ellie waking up, like, "But you kissed my girl." Like that was pretty fucked up though. That was all very, very good.
I'm glad they kept that.
And and I think because like in the game, like we talked about last week with the patrol going out in episode 1 instead of episode 2 with Ellie and Dina, and in the game, that's when they talk about how that night Ellie and Joel are going to watch a movie for the first time together in a really long time. We're not getting that anymore. So this, her being like, "We're okay now, don't fucking worry about it, you guys need to stop talking about us," is like that version of this in the show, which I really, really liked.
Me too. See, we like something, guys.
See. We lean a little bit more into the town defense plan. We cut to a lodge where Tommy is talking with all the town's group leaders about the defense plan. And then Maria, Ellie, and Jesse meet with Seth for an apology for his behavior last night. But still, fuck that guy. So this was another one where it's like pretty close to the game, but they left out bigot sandwiches, Kayla.
They did leave it out. But I think it was implied.
The sandwich was there.
It was implied.
It was there.
It was also kind of weird to me that like they're I don't know. I'm curious if you guys read this how I did, where the way that Seth delivers the lines and then like drops his head afterward, I'm like, are they trying to make me feel bad for this guy that called them dykes last night? Like, no, I'm not feeling bad for this guy. Fuck him, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think yes, but also like I do like that they added the bit that I think is very important, where it's like, oh, so yeah, you get drunk and say things you've never thought before. And so like that, I think that was like a very much like a, sure, you said it while you were drunk, but clearly you are thinking that internally, like you still have some internalized homophobia. So like I do think that was intentional, but yeah, I don't know if they were trying to make us feel bad for him, but like fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Also.
Fuck that guy also. After that, we cut back to Abby up in the mountains. She's scouting. She's getting on her binocular vibe, looking around. And she's like, "You know what? I'm just going to give up. It's so cold out here. Ooh, I'm so cold." She turns around and then she hears a horse. Do horses whinny? Do they? Obviously they neigh, but is it a whinny that we call it?
Yeah.
They did. She was like, "Ooh," sound. Turns around. She sees two people, which we know is Joel and Dina.
Yeah.
I liked this. I liked this, like, kind of giving her a reason to start looking for them of like, because I think she kind of sees the writing on the wall that the group probably doesn't want to do this, and she's like, oh, maybe this is my opportunity to just fucking do it myself.
Yeah, and it's so funny. My husband Hunter has played the first game, and he knows some of the spoilers, but he has not played the second game, so he is a little bit in the dark on like some of the details, and he does kind of not have the background. It's so funny. He was like, well, that's convenient that she just happens upon Joel and Dina. And I was like, well, yeah, but also like they are looking for him. Like, and you'll get more about that later. But can I just say that her sliding down in the snow gave me the ick. I'm so sorry.
Sure.
That scene gave me the ick.
Well, also, so Ryan in the chat says the horse Winnie going all the way up the mountain stretched my suspension of disbelief. Her sliding down a mountain and not getting knocked the fuck out broke my suspension of disbelief. I'm like, how is she not completely blacked out right now?
Oh my God, I just saw Heroic Hittinger said Hope said died in the infected attack.
Damn.
But hey, he might have.
Let's go.
Let's go, bro.
But I do like that she saw the horses and like had that little bit of like, because that doesn't happen in the game. Like she completely is like random. Like they happen upon her.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And the way that they did the horde attack for her, oh my God, they had so many infected, like more than the game. It was crazy. That scene was really great. I really liked that, actually.
Because so right before we got to that part, we cut back to Jackson, and we get like a bunch of prep. They're getting their ammo in place. They're getting their barrels. We're like, oh, what are the barrels for? We'll find out later. They're getting their tractors up behind the gate to make sure it's as strong as possible. We're getting just all sorts of those kinds of things. And then we also get, there's now a storm brewing, and Tommy wants them to call out on the radio, bring the patrols back, to which I'm like, why did we send patrols out anyway if we were expecting there to maybe be a horde because of what we found?
Yeah, it's, I don't know. They don't, maybe, it's just one of those days. Everyone has them. You just don't think, you're just not thinking. So maybe.
Sure. Just a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. And I do think that first of all, shout out to Amy, the wheelchair representation in the tower. Yeah. Getting a little ahead of ourselves, but she was doing her best.
She was doing her truly doing her best.
And this kind of going back a little bit and going forward a little bit, but I love Maria in this episode. Yeah. She is a baddie. Great. She's a 10. And I love her energy. She has very like authoritative energy, which I like. And it adds such a complex layer that Tommy is at the base and not with them.
Yeah, it does.
Which I love.
Let's talk about that a little bit. So yeah, what kind of a big change, as we kind of alluded to earlier, with the patrols being different. So in the game, Joel goes out with Tommy and Ellie goes out with Dina. Now it's Ellie and Jesse and Joel and Dina, so that Tommy can be back and be kind of our POV back at home base. Did we like this change, Jerica?
Loved it.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
I loved it too.
I think it's gonna create, and we'll get to some dialogue that happens later on with Dina specifically and Abby's crew, but like this adds a little bit more of experience in why everyone's gonna be like sort of not Dina will be on board, and Tommy specifically will. I get why they were on board to like follow and kill whoever killed Joel. I get it. Yeah. But now in the show, we get a few more believable reasonings why, like, already Dina and Joel are best friends. Like, he sort of looks at Dina like another daughter at this point. That's based on what I've seen from the show. Mm-hmm. And just blindly following Ellie, like, in the games, it's not, you could see it. Like, obviously they've been friends for a long time and they love each other. Yeah. But like now it's a show, like they both have a common denominator, and that's Joel. Like, hey, let's both get this revenge for Joel. So I'm excited to see where that goes with Dina being on patrol here and being potentially, even being someone that's going to bring a lot of information back to Ellie and Jackson with what happened to Joel. It's like a really important, a little bit of that. I don't know the word I'm looking for. She will
Addition?
be more important, like in this segment. And then just Tommy and his responsibilities to Jackson are definitely a priority more so than they were in the game.
Yeah.
Him protecting the town and
his son.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's got double whammy of things that you definitely can tell, like, Tommy's more responsible now for Jackson. And it's not just because of Maria and the son. Like, he is like he's the captain of the army.
Yeah.
Is that how it works? He's the leader. He's the military leader for this town. So, like, I like the change.
I do too. It's something that I feel like we kind of missed a little bit in season 1 because the water mill was already fixed in the show. Where, like, in the game, that's where we get in the first game of Tommy is clearly kind of the leader of this town. He's the one kind of leading the charge of fixing the mill and is the deciding factor for a lot of things. So it was cool to see that kind of in a new light and see him get to, as he says, headshot a clicker from 1,000 yards or whatever.
I really liked that change. I think it's a good one. Also, like, kind of commenting on the storm really quick. Did you guys see the after the show piece where it actually was storming?
They were in a blizzard.
They were in a blizzard. So a lot of that was like really real, like the cold that they were experiencing. I think that's really cool.
Didn't need makeup. Face was just raw and pink from the actual the snow and the cold.
God, it looked so cold.
It looked real because it was real. You know, magic.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes acting is just doing.
Beautiful.
Ellie and Jesse are caught in the storm and seek shelter to a nearby 7-Eleven full of dying weed. Apparently, this was a secret den of Eugene's that he kept from Maria. We also learn a little bit more about Joel killing Eugene, who was formerly a Firefly. This is a change I didn't love. I liked that we still got Eugene's den, and I'm sure we're going to be getting a lot more Eugene stuff, but specifically missing out on the Ellie Dina scene within them, them getting a little naked, kissing a little bit, but more so not just because of the kissing and the naked, but specifically like the character growth and like Ellie for the first time revealing that she's infected. Obviously Dina doesn't believe her, but like missing that conversation, I feel like I kind of
house now.
Say again.
I heard the thunder in Jerica's house.
God's angry too that the weed den scene. We're not in there. I can't talk. That's God taking over me.
And I do think, as Ryan says, I think we'll get the kissy naked scene later. I bet we do.
Tension.
I think, or we just like get a whole other scene with them together that goes further, not just. I have some predictions. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to shut up now. I got some predictions.
Shut up. But I feel like for me, part of where I start, like earlier, I was saying, the more I kind of sit with it, the more I get down in this episode. And I feel a lot of it comes to the tension of like, I think this episode could have really been served by breaking the tension more for beats of like, I felt like once Jackson starts prepping for the battle that they expect to be happening, we're at like a 9 until we're at a 10, and we don't really ever drop from that 9. And I feel like it could have helped. It almost like, in a way, this is going to sound dramatic and I don't mean it to, but like it almost feels like manipulative in a way where like they're having so much tension around every other part of the episode that now the Joel stuff is like hitting even harder, but not in the right way, I think, which we'll get to. I don't want to just talk about that now, but like, I feel like if they had kept the Ellie Dina bit here, if we had seen, to jump ahead a little bit, if we had seen Ellie searching more later in the episode and like giving that perspective instead of just battle, kill, kill. Am I making sense?
No,
yes. Yeah. And I kind of agree, and I'll expand more later, but I do think that would have been a good like resting like beat, almost like a little like pocket of solace of like the two of them, which I think is kind of how it serves in the game.
Sure.
But I do like that it's Jesse. And I do like that they are, as much as I wish, like I do love that moment with them during the game, but I almost feel like you do already have, because we have the dance scene earlier than we do in the game, we get that like moment of joy with them together in the first season or in the first episode that you don't get in the game experience as early on as you do. So I almost feel like that like kind of not replaces it is the wrong word, but like it adds that emphasis on their relationship a little bit more
That's
that
a good
you
point.
already get. So I like that we're bringing Jesse in as a more important character early on.
That's a great point.
Because I do think that will serve well later on when we get,
Sure.
So.
And young Manzino, great actor.
Oh, great.
What were you going to say, Jerica? Sorry.
I was going to add to, like, considering Ellie and Dina haven't even talked about what happened at the dance yet. Like, that's going to happen at some point. Because, like,
that would have been jarring.
It just, like, like, all this crazy shit just happened. They haven't even had a chance to, like, literally, Ellie still thinks that in the show, Dina was high and it was just trying to get back at Jesse. And I loved how Jesse was just, once again, Jesse knows that Dina loves Ellie. Yeah. So, like, I think he's like, it's no big deal because I think she likes you, bro. But he didn't say that. But yeah, I can't wait to see how they bring that in. And now it's even more of a, like, when do we even get to talk about this? Because now Ellie's going to be just fixated on, like, finding Abby and, killing her now. But, like, at some point they got to take a break and talk about the dance and the kiss.
Sure.
So, like, where does that happen now that we don't have the weed den scene?
I love that the mask bong still stayed, though.
That was great. That was good.
Yeah. Okay, we cut back to Abby. We touch on this a little bit. We can unpack it a little more. Abby is trying to find those two horses, slips down the mountain into a graveyard of dead, frozen, infected, except they aren't dead underneath. We learned earlier in the episode that Jackson found a group of infected using dead ones as insulation in the snow, and now we're seeing it in action, and hoo boy, there are a water infected princess, is what I wrote. This is fucking terrifying.
It's crazy. I love the scene. I love it personally.
Yeah, I it's the kind of thing where, like, I like that they are adding more kind of danger to the infected because like in the game you could only animate so many of them, and like if you're good enough at the game as Abby, like you can kill a lot of the horde and survive. You don't have to run, and like she couldn't have done that here. So I liked that. And I liked it also adds a little bit more kind of nuance later in the episode that her falling down and staying conscious somehow. She lost her rifle. She lost her pistol. She lost like any weapon she has, I think was also a nice touch.
I agree.
And then from there, we get a lot of that stuff from the game of her going through the fence and all of that kind of business, which was so good. Except it was very good, but I hated it. The infected pushing its hand through.
And then sliced down the middle.
That was so gnarly.
That was gnarly, and I cringed. I was like, I got cringed.
I feel like something that The Last of Us show does a lot better than other zombie things and like undead things is that these infected seem to have absolutely no care for feeling. They will do physically whatever they have to do to get to their goal. And I think that is like really scary of like later them just throwing their bodies against the wall for the sake of the other infected. Like it's like they will sacrifice themselves because as they kind of added last season, it's all one giant organism here. It's not like their own thing, which I think at first I was like a weird change, but now I get it.
It makes sense.
It's like, I love that it makes sense now.
Wait until we have the PlayStation 6 and they throw this little tidbit into the game and there's just tons of them all acting as one, just chasing us down the hill, right? Just like 50 of them just chasing you.
Days Gone 2.
There you go.
I do.
Or you can just play that.
That's true, yeah. And not to yuck anybody's yum, but I do think that they showed the pipe a little too much. Like the pipe with the stuff, like the little like creepy crawly. I get it. They're trying to make a point, but they really in the past 2 episodes have shown it like 10 times. It's like, okay.
But I did like that we're getting a little bit ahead, but that once it like gets activated within Jackson, like High Score Weekly just said in the chat, like the whole horde completely changes. They're like, now we see this bigger threat, or not threat, but like bigger dinner, so let's go get that.
Which is fair, and I get it. Yeah, they're really trying to make sure you understand the new dynamic of like the way it works. But I was like, okay.
But one little gripe I had with that moment, I don't know if it was like a scene that just hit the editing room floor or if it just got lost in the shuffle. But like the two guys that break apart the pipe, they start running at Tommy, and we don't see what happens. So it's like Tommy, and then they don't talk. It's not addressed, and then the siege just happens. I don't know. It's weird.
It was weird.
You're right.
Like, I didn't catch that. Yeah.
I was like, what the hell? Why?
I think we could fill in the blank as the audience, but it was like, I think something was accidentally dropped here that they didn't mean to drop.
Which I do love. I know we're kind of progressing a little bit. I really like the siege on Jackson. I do. I think it should have been in a different episode, personally.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah. I think that I agree with a lot of what Patrick said early on. Like, I think that this could have served better if you would have had this. I think I know why they did it. And they talk about it a little bit in the HBO podcast with Troy Baker about they really wanted to increase the level of danger that is felt just overall, like in the vulnerability. They really wanted to have it be like, okay, now Jackson's vulnerable. Joel's vulnerable. Everybody's like bared open right now in the face of this like tragedy. But I do think that like we maybe could have like moved this a little bit and it would have felt more impactful. I felt like I was jarred like the whole time, but not necessarily in a good way. Like I felt like I kept having to like pull my attention, and I do think like his death was very impactful, but I almost feel like it was taken away a little bit by what else was happening.
I agree.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, well, no. We'll unpack that a lot more here in a bit. But we wrap up that scene with another bit that's like pulled straight from the game. Like once she goes into the fence, basically for the next like 2 minutes, it's just the game, which I love. She gets jumped on by an infected, and then we see the pistol come in frame, shoot the infected. She goes deaf for a second, and it's Joel. She's like, "Get up." Or he's like, "Get up," and they start running. And, you know, she doesn't know who Joel is yet, but we know, especially because in the show, they've painted the picture that Abby is really trying to kill Joel. And so now it's like, oh, fuck. These two people are now together, and we know that that's bad. And then we jump back to Jackson. Tommy finds out with, did you say her name was Amy? Kayla? Amy. Yes. I didn't write down her name.
I wrote it down.
Apologies to Amy.
A baddie.
Tommy finds out that Joel and Dina are the only ones that didn't either say they're coming home or find shelter like Ellie and Jesse did. So he tells her to every 10 seconds try to reach Joel. And instead he's like, the pit in the stomach is just growing. It's just getting bigger by the fucking second now.
Yeah.
And then we also hear Jesse and Ellie get their radio in that Dina and Joel are missing. And so that activates them, which I also liked. It was fun to, instead of like in the game, Jesse finds them, is like, "We've been looking all over for you. Joel never came back from patrol." Whereas now they're like, "Okay, you know, we got radios, we can use them." Did we like this, Jerica?
Yeah, I was impartial to it. Like I was like, I get where they're going with it. If anything, like the added, like just knowing like Dina and Joel were possibly both in trouble, that was another layer to it. Not that Ellie doesn't care about Tommy, but like that's another layer that like immediately Ellie just like gets up and runs. It's like, let's go. Yeah. Let's get out.
For sure. Yeah. Meanwhile, this is when we get the worker finding cordyceps that turns the entire horde. So they were chasing Joel and Dina and Abby, but now they're heading to Jackson. And then we get like a kind of the setup for that battle to begin. You know, Tommy and the guys on the wall, they start sending out the barrels. Tommy gets all of his ammunition, and he does the little war chant. And then, like 1,000 infected just fucking body slam.
Game of Thrones. It was like Game of Thrones.
It was very Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It was very much Game of Thrones in the wall, which I haven't decided yet if I like or not. What do we think?
I thought it was cool. Like,
I liked it.
Great.
It could have been done maybe a little differently in some aspects. Yes. There was a few moments in the attack that didn't make a little bit of, there were some things that didn't make sense once again, but overall, like I like seeing Jackson try to fight, because we've never really seen like what is this town capable of? How can it protect itself? Now we're
How's
sort
it
of getting that
developed?
answer. Like, how would they protect themselves?
Sure.
Obviously, they got
Yeah.
this big wall or whatever, but you have, 100 infected coming at you, probably more than that. I don't know how
You
many.
can't
but
count.
I can't. But a lot of them.
Yeah.
A posse is actually more a herd. Here we go.
A herd. I like herd.
There we go. Herds out in the field, and they're coming in.
Herd.
So it was cool to see,
Slay.
Jackson fight for itself. So
Ryan in the chat makes a great point, though. Like, this is one of those things, like, it's like these weird inconsistencies where they're throwing out barrels to light on fire, yet their wall is trees. It's like, we know trees are flammable, right? Now, it's a
distance,
blizzard.
though. The distance, it was getting far enough away.
Sure,
Surely
but
they've practiced.
well,
They had a
maybe,
whole
but maybe
system.
not. Maybe
They had a
maybe
whole
not.
system in
They did
place,
have a whole
like-
system, but then we have infected fully on fire now running against the wall. But I mean, the wall doesn't catch on fire.
True.
So it must.
I thought that was going to happen.
Yeah.
I really did. And I also a couple of things from the chat. Yes, sure.
I had thought, I'm sorry, but maybe it makes sense, though. Because I wouldn't want to waste my bullets on a potential situation where we're just gunning down things that are just not in their right mind anyway. So, I'd rather that wall burn down and be able to take them all out at once.
Sure.
That's
That's a good
we can
point.
rebuild the wall, but maybe it's ammo. Because, ammo
Well,
really-
and also
maybe they had an
it's-
influx of oil, gasoline
Sure.
barrels.
Sure.
No, I was thinking through that one. I was like, maybe that's why.
No,
I
that
don't
makes
know.
sense. But it's also it's so wet because it's winter.
Oh.
That's a good
and
point.
everyone in the chat seems to be fucking log experts. So it's not going to catch on fire.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
So fucking
We
log police in the chat over here. Sorry for the fucking
shit.
log police.
I love this so much.
We cut to up back to the mountain. Joel in the mountains sees Jackson burning, sees the fires outside Jackson. So he knows something bad's happening and he wants to turn around. But meanwhile, Dina is on the verge of death. She's so cold. So
Yeah.
Abby, and it's one of those moments where these are, because I'm just not super hot on Abby yet this season, but this is one of those moments where I when she hears Joel's name, I thought was a good moment of her face being what are the fucking odds? And then this time when he's we got to go back. I don't care if we die on the way, but I have to try to get to Jackson. And she just fucking commits and bites her tongue and or not bites her tongue. That'd be the opposite. And is we're so close. Let's just keep going. We have ammunition. We have guns. My friends are going to help. And Joel's you can see that fight that Joel has of I really don't want to do this. But it does seem like the smarter call. He's actually using his brain, which is why is this the time you're using your brain, Joel?
Yeah.
But it was good.
And I think Leanne Weaver in the chat, she mentioned earlier, it does add an added complexity that he knows what is happening in Jackson. You can see it.
Sure.
I was so hopeful for a second. I was oh, he sees it. He's just going to keep going. But I was no, they can't do that. But yeah.
And
Oh.
Swanky makes a good point that he's he's also looking after Dina. So it's if he has to make sure that she survives, and apparently she doesn't have the right gear to survive a fucking blizzard, which is why? But
I like how everyone
I
is
get it.
saying #justice for logs in the chat. We love to see it.
You guys make your own fucking podcast.
Science.
We got
Okay.
log lovers up in here.
I know,
Need
right?
a
Goodness
new
gracious.
shirt.
Look, I love a log as much as the next guy. You know what I mean?
Logs?
I was
Thinking
referring,
logs.
I was referring to a penis there.
Oh, penises.
Although I
Cool.
guess logs are usually more akin to stool.
Yes, correct.
So I'm not of that. I will admit, Patrick Lordrop, not a fan of that.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, we find out that the infected are going to breach. This is another one of those weird moments for me. It's whatever, I get it. But it's all of a sudden they just turn. It's oh, we're going to go to that part of the wall for some reason. It's, whatever. I get it. But it's as I'm watching, I'm wait, why are they just picking that part of the wall? But we got a bloater now.
Which is
Tommy
crazy.
realizes that they're going to breach, jumps down, goes to get his little fire flamethrower, and they get in.
Doop, 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 doop.
And we have this, that moment that you see in just about every show at some point where we look at one, we look at the other, and they just nod, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to do my best. We get that. And then we go back. Oh, no. Actually, I think I skipped a little bit here. There's just more fighting business. They get in. It's a fucking mess. We got infected going up on the roof. We got infected trying to get in the basements. People dying all over the place.
Crawling in your windows, trying to snatch the children, like literally up. That's a call out to that old video, that YouTube video.
How'd you hide your wife?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, nailed it.
Yeah.
But at this like main street of Jackson, I like that they like the one of the things they jump into is like the bakery, which if you've played The Last of Us 2 as much as we have, it's like we've been to the fucking bakery, especially if you played No Return. So that was fun. And then the bloater gets in and it does that kind of weird thing they do in the 5th season or in the 5th episode where it's like, all right, let's focus on the bloater and everything is just about the bloater. And then the bloater like gets Maria's attention.
It wanted her.
Right.
It was like, ooh, I'm going to get that. I feel like the bloater like realized, oh, that one in the middle that's trying to kill me, that's his
bad bitch.
Wife. I'm going to go after her. I don't know. They had a connection.
They had a connection.
It was weird.
And then this was the biggest offender for me of the episode of like breaking my suspension of disbelief. Tommy sees this and sees the bloater focused on Maria and starts running into the horde, shooting at the bloater, and all the other infected just running right by him. I'm like, how is Tommy not completely overrun right now? And then he gets the bloater's attention, turns around and is running with infected that are running in the horde. I'm like, okay, sure. I guess that we're going to accept that. And then he takes the bloater into this little side alley with his flamethrower. They have a showdown, which was also, I did not love this. I like that they don't kill Tommy.
I thought it was dope because it reminded me.
It
made up for the weirdness that you just described with them not attacking him. But I liked it because it did remind me a lot about the game and where you just hope that the thing just goes down after a while, right? You know, I don't know.
That's true. That's true.
Like using your shotgun, you're like, please God, I only have 2 bullets left. Please God, I have a flamethrower. Oh my God, like please just die. And that felt, the same emotion you get in the game fighting them. So
that's a good point. I didn't think about it that way. That like exasperated, like it's either I die or it dies. Like one of the other is going to happen.
I felt that energy too. And like, I actually really did like this scene. I like the flamethrower use because you get that in the game too. And I actually thought they were going to kill him for a moment. I really did. And some might say like the bloater just died a little easily, like in the end there, but it stressed me the fuck out, like seeing his gas run down, like the shots they did with that. But High Score Weekly had a good chat. I call out that his wife was so concerned about friendly fire the whole time. Also
valid concern
because they were shooting like across buildings and like all this kind of stuff.
It was wild.
Like, again, Maria, a baddie, certified.
Well,
of all.
I think at that point, they were also shooting their friend. Like, it was like they were being overrun by infected. So at that point, it's like, oh, they're dead now. So we're just, all these bodies we need to shoot. And that's how I interpreted that. But that part didn't bother me. We then cut back to Joel and company at the cabin at this point. We get this funny moment. Rose and I laughed. We're watching, and Abby's crew is outside, just like, Abby, horses. Just like, just a weird dialogue thing. It just sounded funny. Yeah.
They're derpy.
But they bring them in. We got a little frostbite on Dina's hand. And Joel gets another look at Jackson, grabs the radio. He's like, we got 3 minutes, get your blankets, get your fucking guns, and we're out of here. And then Abby starts just like kind of becoming the Abby that we don't want, of like, this one's named Dina and that one's named Joel. And everyone's like, oh, fuck.
They're like,
what do we think
we're
about
looking
that?
for, y'all. That's the name. He's right over there. Yeah. That's him.
This was another one of the moments for me where it's like I had a couple of these last season where I'm like, the way it's written in the game I feel like just works so well, where with Joel and Tommy, they're like talking about, like they're asking them questions about them and like what they're doing, and then they start acting a bit funny, and then Joel's like, "Yo, act like you heard of us" or something, like, or whatever the line is. It's like that kind of thing was like I kind of missed that little bit.
I did too.
As a knower in this one, it's just like Abby just from the beat that they're in there telling everybody, "Hey, I know exactly who this guy is. Let's just fucking get at it." I felt like there was a lot. Do we agree it was cleaner in the game?
I liked it in the game more that he introduced himself and then they all did the look. And like I think that it played into the more like environmental like storytelling aspect. Whereas in the show it was more like, all right, guys, his name's Joel.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like and I was just like, okay, like I do still think that the way their body language changes, I think they get that a little bit in the show, but I do think it's better in the game where it's like more naturally occurring conversation. Which, am I wrong? I don't remember this. In the game, when he says his name, is it the first time Abby realizes who he is as well?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think it is
because it's Tommy that says that's my brother Joel.
Is my brother Joel.
Yeah,
and everybody realizes at the same
and
time.
They all
so I think
stop and look like, and then they just sort of like jump the gun and like, well, not jump the gun, but they go after him after that.
Yeah.
But in the show, she already knows.
Yeah.
So it's like,
there might have been a moment earlier where he tells Abby his name, but like she doesn't. What I remember for certain is that she doesn't come in there and like tell the whole group and has this like a speech already worked up.
It might be one of those things that like just like in the show, like they know what he looks like, they know he's handsome, you know, and like maybe in the game like that was enough. Like I can't remember if she describes, Kayla, you've recently played, if anything's described what the guy looks like what does Joel look like? Do they know? Did they have one of those drawings where they call it a little sketch?
Well, no, because we don't know who they are still in the game. That's the thing, like we have no idea who this group is. We don't know who Abby is. We don't know what they're looking for. Like, so when we
I didn't know if they knew what Joel looks like though in the game. Like maybe she sort of had some guesses. Like I'm just trying to think, like maybe that was some of the stuff we didn't really think of from the game, but that's in the show. Like they have an idea of what he looks like. So maybe, you know, like an inkling that could be Joel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Heroic Head, you're keeping us honest. Now that in the game, Tommy says it when they first save Abby out there. It's coming back to me now.
Okay.
So Abby does have an idea, but it's still revealed later in the thing.
Great.
Blaster Goblin's so funny. I feel like they should have done more research. A lot of people are named Joel. It's the wrong guy.
It's a lot of Joels.
That's
true. I'd hate to have killed the wrong Joel. You know, like. Damn, never thought about
that. Right. So Abby reveals to the crew that the two of them are named Dina and Joel. So they grab Dina, take her hostage, and hold up Joel. Joel then puts together that they're fireflies. He's like, "What? If you want to rob us, you can take whatever." And she's like, "Oh, do we look like robbers?" And he's like, "No." What do you think we look like? Military. Oh, are you fireflies? And then they knock out Dina with what looked like injectable milk. And
that's
they tell
anesthesia. I fear.
I fear that's anesthesia. And they tell Joel that Dina's gonna die if he lies during this next little interrogation bit. And she asks him, "When's the last time you saw fireflies?" And you can see Pedro does such a good job in this scene of like you can see him putting the pieces together, like, oh, I'm fucked. Like, this is gonna be really bad. But then, like, so what some people were saying in the chat earlier, he's making his calculations. He's like, okay, I know I'm fucked. How do I save Dina? So he's like, okay, I gotta tell the truth. Last time, Salt Lake City, I killed everybody, of course.
Big ad here. I was gonna chime in. Like, I don't remember in the game. It's probably maybe shown off screen as something that we just assume that happens, but I love that Dina has heard everything and knows that Joel did something to the fireflies. That's something we don't have in the game. And we never get a conversation, honestly, between Ellie and Dina talking about what Joel did. So we're going to get a point where Ellie has to talk about what actually happened. We've never seen that. And
great fucking pull, Jerica.
Great pull.
I was like, I can't wait for Dina to be able to ask, what did Joel do to these fireflies? Who are the fireflies? And that is maybe how Ellie's got to explain, like, how she's immune. So, like, I love that.
That's a great point.
That's why I can't be too mad at this episode, because I see some of the things they're doing. Like, that was the one thing I picked up. I'm like, I can't be mad at this episode because those changes, I want to see how they pay off. But that's one of them.
Yeah, and I do like that. Like in the next week on The Last of Us, it shows Dina is like, they had this thing. It was the WLF. Like maybe they're from Seattle. So it's like now she's the one relaying the information instead of Tommy, which obviously makes sense. But what are you thinking, Kayla?
Which, does this change everything about the end of the game? How Dina is fed up with Ellie? Like, is she more bought in now? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's a line eventually, but like, to me, like her involvement is so much more direct now that I'm just so curious about like what that means for the rest.
It's still going to end up sad. I just wanted I want a different game when I get to that place.
I bet by the time it gets to that point, I think they'll justify that Dina is still like, okay, we did our best, but like there's just too much at stake now, so I'm out if you don't do it. I bet they'll keep that.
Can I add too that, like, again, kind of circling back to the group is more bought in the game than they are in the show, is that like Manny's, I just played this, so I'm like fresh off of it. Manny like says they're gonna kill Ellie. He's like, oh yeah, do you want us to kill her?
Yeah,
because like he stabs her, which she stabs him, which still happens in the show. But like, he's like, okay, yeah, like now we kill her, which we didn't touch on also in the game. There's more people in their group. There's like 8 or so people. Yeah. Whereas in the show, it's a little bit smaller, more intimate of a group. But I do think that's interesting. And I'm just curious how the dynamics will go.
Do they not know that she's immune? Like, surely, don't they know? Did they ever talk about that? Because I would not want to kill the only immune person that got away.
I don't think they know. I think eventually, I want to say, if I remember correctly, I feel like Abby eventually knows. I don't remember if she knows at this portion of the timeline, but I don't think, because like with the way that Marlene was talking about Ellie in the first game, like they weren't really telling anybody else about it. And I feel like I remember, I might be making this up, I feel like I remember there being a scene between, is it Doug? Whatever her dad's name is, and Marlene about it. I feel like there's like a little bit of like some secrecy, maybe. Sense. I might just be making that up though.
No, I was just like, man, I've never really thought about it. I'm like, those are some shitty fireflies, but also their bosses are shitty for not telling them what the hell was going on.
Yeah. So much could have been avoided here if people just fucking talked to each other.
Get on Discord, send a message.
Yeah. And that's why you should join the Discord. If you go to dropindropoutpod.com and click on join the Discord, we can always have a conversation about anything before we resort to killing each other.
Don't accidentally kill an immune person in an apocalypse.
Exactly.
Join Discord. Yeah, we all are. Now you know because you were here.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Joel starts putting together that they're from Salt Lake. Abby shoots him in the leg. She makes Mel tourniquet his leg, and this is when we kind of were alluding to earlier. We start seeing like the group is kind of really at odds with how Abby is acting here. She threatens Dina at one point, and I don't remember, it might have been Mel was like, and she's like, fucking do it or I'll bash her face in or something, she says. Which is like, I think they're trying to convince us that Abby's bad and mean and wants to be bad and mean. And then Kayla, is that your Abby impression?
My Abby impression.
It was good.
Very good.
Sorry.
Very good. Very good. She starts torturing Joel and going on and on about bullshit, and Joel tells her to shut the fuck up and get it over with because he's our king. I love that line of like, just shut the fuck up.
Because why was the monologue so long?
Oh, it was the first time watching. This might upset some people, but it's my truth. It's the first time since I've been watching The Last of Us where I was like, this is some Mike Flanagan ass bullshit monologue here.
I love Mike Flanagan.
I like Mike Flanagan, but the dude is obsessed with monologues and they're usually bad. Like, I'm looking at you, Midnight Mass. What the fuck were you guys doing? But
no, that's my favorite scene of all time.
It's too bad.
Good.
I like religious trauma.
I did.
Sorry.
But it's like, come on, y'all.
It seemed out of character for what we're used to, so maybe they're leaning in. The only thing I'm not trying to justify it, but I guess I am. Like, okay, maybe they're trying to lean into, they gotta picture her as someone that's that's also been through it and might not be thinking clearly and has gone off the deep end with some of this and just not acting like herself. So hopefully we will get some like flashbacks of like before Abby, like to see how she was. I don't know. It was weird though. I agree. No, my girlfriend was like, ew, I don't like her talking like that.
Well, yeah, let me clarify, because the chat is like, you wouldn't monologue when this has been your sole focus for 5 years. It's not that I wouldn't monologue. I just think, going back to Kayla's point earlier, I don't think the writing was very good for this monologue.
Correct.
Yeah,
that's what I mean about the Mike Flanagan of it all. We're like, usually the monologues can make sense in the story. It's just like the writing of it is not very strong, in my opinion. But yeah, I think it makes sense. I think I'm being misunderstood. It makes sense that she monologues. I didn't like the monologue.
I mean, it was extra. It was the writing. It was a little extra for this situation. We need something short and to the punch, like literally get to it. Because like, who has time to think and be artistic about what you're trying to say to the guy that murdered your dad in this world? It doesn't work that way.
You've also had 5 years to plan what you're going to say.
Sure.
Too. So like, there is that.
I still think it was too fancy.
Sure. Rabbit says she had 5 years to get a tight 5. That's very funny.
Not wrong. Yeah.
I just still stand by what I've said from the beginning. And I do get that. Like, realistically, if this is something that like has impacted your life so significantly, which I might add, if you've not seen any of our other like kind of conversation about The Last of Us Part 2, I get where Abby's coming from.
Sure.
Like, that's the thing. I have not talked to anyone who is bought in on Abby. And I do think that once you know who she is and what her motivations are, you are supposed to feel for her in a way. And I feel like you already know her motivations. You already know what her goal was. You already know why she's the way she is. And people still don't like her. And so to me, that misses the mark on like what the whole point is. And I'm like, what is going to be the people like I guess it has to be the flashbacks, right? Which I think we'll still get. And maybe that's what get people more brought in far as like
and the relationship with Lev, I'm sure will help.
I'm sure. Yeah. And maybe that'll come. But like, I still stand by like, if you were going to tell us off the bat that she wanted to kill Joel, you should have left the reason why like alone. Yeah. And I think like you could have given us one or the other. Like you could have given us some snapshots maybe of like who she was and then like all of a sudden you see her and Joel together, or you should have like told us, yes, she wants to kill Joel, but you don't know why.
Sure.
Because all of that is left so close to the chest in the game. And I just feel like you're not going to get quite the same experience.
Sure.
Like, maybe you do. But yeah.
I mean, I will say, so I have been so far watching with someone who didn't play the game. And after the way this episode went, they said, I am never watching this show again with how they handled all this, because it was just like, for them, it was like too brutal and too
perfect.
And
it's
like,
just like the game.
Well, right. And like, and so, and so Swanky's in this chat saying, I think story-wise, you have to hate her at this point. Correct. I think at this point, like
But I remember.
Well, so I remember at this point in the game, all I wanted to do, because also I played this in July of 2020, as so many of us did, which was just a very difficult time in general. All my sole focus as a human being, Patrick, was fucking kill Abby. I will do whatever I can to kill Abby. And so that, like, I like that so far, anyone that I've talked to that doesn't know is like, oh, I can't believe that they would do this. But I feel like what I'm not getting from them is that, like, sheer gut-wrenching hate for Abby so far, which I think, but maybe it's just that, you know, they're still cooking, but I don't know.
I just want to know, like, what is left to learn about her.
Sure.
Besides, like, some of her relationships with the group and with Lev. Like, I feel like what that did for me is, like, I hated her. I hated the situation. I hated everything. And then I learned why she did what she did. And I was like, oh.
Sure.
Okay, like that, and kind of got that like realization. But I feel like you missed something by going ahead and giving that information in the beginning.
Yeah,
but
because we don't learn that until pretty late, right? In the game,
almost very far into the game.
Yeah,
and you learn that via a flashback that you get with her and her dad, and that to me is like absolutely gut wrenching when you get that later on. But I mean, who knows? I can be proven wrong.
Sure,
I'm ready to.
It's never happened before. but
Exactly.
it could happen now. So we were kind of, at this point, then Abby goes to town on Joel, and we start to see Ellie finding the cabin. And then Ellie gets in there, and then it's like kind of beat for beat in ways of the game of like, Joel get up, which a moment that I really loved that they added was Joel actually physically trying to get up, where in the game he's like so dead by this point, but in the show, like all he wants to do is try to do what Ellie wants, which is like, oh my fucking God, are you kidding me? This is so fucking heart-wrenching. But we've kind of, and I don't want to breeze past this by any means, but we kind of have been dancing around this conversation a lot of the episode of like this split focus of Siege of Jackson, killing of Joel. I feel like, Kayla, you were kind of saying that by having them both share so much screen time, we kind of we lost a little bit of the impact of Joel. And I think I agree with you. Jerica, Joel, I'm going to call you now, Jerica. Yeah. What did you think of this?
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think the attack on Jackson was cool, but it's almost like, will this be my Kansas City segment of season 1 for the show? Like, will this little bit be something that like I wish didn't happen and took away from the main story we're trying to tell? Because it was a lot in one episode. I wish it didn't. And it was almost like not silly fights, but we brought up a lot of points from the Jackson drama and fighting that it just seemed wacky at times too. Mm-hmm. So like a silly fight, and I'm making it sound small scale, but it was just a little silly in some ways, took away from the true conflict that we were, sounds sort of bad when I say we were waiting to see, but like I was waiting to get this whole episode dedicated to the building up to that moment. So yeah, I agree. I think the Jackson defending itself could have been another episode, but it tied into how they were going to get to this point with Joel and Abby meeting. Yeah. So it was part of the story, but it was a lot for one episode.
Yeah, I agree.
Squinky has a good point that I think they did it because they already showed us Abby's intentions. So to do a little sleight of hand to who is in danger, they paired Joel with everyone else being in peril.
Sure. And I also get a big criticism of the first season. It wasn't necessarily a criticism of mine, but a lot of people were like, there's just barely any infected other than that one big moment of episode 5 of last season. I think this was them trying to do a make good of that, of like, you know what? Here's the biggest fucking fight you're going to get. It's going to be, I'm sure we're not going to get anything close to this level. Or maybe even next season. But I feel like for them, it was like, okay, we're HBO. We got fucking Mark Mylod directing, which it was also nice that, to go back to the predictions episode, the whole reason I ever started to do that was like, oh, Mark Mylod's directing episode 2. This probably means Joel dies. Even though I eventually kind of convinced myself to change that. But I feel like I understand why they went as big as they did. And I wonder, this might be like an unfair comparison, but I feel like, and I'm interested if either of you feel this too, I feel like this episode should have kind of been on par with like a Red Wedding from Game of Thrones. Like that kind of, everyone's talking about it, this huge twist, a lot of death, a lot of very impactful death. And I just don't know that I'm seeing that online. Maybe that's a me thing. Maybe others are seeing it online. But I feel like I'm just not seeing the reaction that I would have expected from Joel being murdered. And I wonder if that's because of how they handle the attack on Jackson. And it kind of took away from the moment a little bit. That's just me throwing out an idea. I don't know if either of you agree at all. Do you think
it would have been more impactful if like they had another main character die, like in Jackson? Like what if it was Maria? Because for a few moments I thought like they might kill Maria off in the show, and like that be something that really challenges Tommy for leaving, which I know would be a big shade from the game. You know, who's to say they couldn't make that? But like, you know, could there have been like another major, but we're not as tied to like Maria as like Joel. You know, it's hard to explain. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
I would have felt upset if another character died, just because I do think they would have taken even more away from Joel's death personally.
Yeah.
But High Score Weekly, says something that I agree with, where I have seen a lot of reaction videos.
Okay.
To especially like on TikTok, like people saying like, oh, my boyfriend / girlfriend knew what was coming and they didn't tell me. And there's like crying videos.
Sure.
I saw
things.
Paul Tassi, he's, he writes a lot about Destiny a lot. So I follow Paul Tassi. I think it's I can't remember what. Forbes. I think he writes for Forbes.
He's a Forbes guy. Yep.
He tweeted something today, or on Blueski, one of those apps. Like Blueski. He's interested to see like ratings for Game of Thrones when the main old guy died at the first episode. Ned Stark, or maybe the last episode. I can't remember episode. Ratings went up.
Actually, that was episode 9 of season 1. Thank you very much.
Don't go after Paul. That's Jerica messing up there. But he was like, ratings went up, skyrocketed after that happened. And then comparing it to The Walking Dead when Negan killed Glenn.
Yeah.
Tanked, just bottom, like no one.
Actually, Negan didn't kill Glenn. That was the infected.
I know that one for a fact because I remember I was in that moment with that shock when that happened. I still continue to watch it, but viewership like tanked after that. So 2 different scenarios. So Paul was like, "I'm interested to see where this one lands with the show," and so that will be telling for us like next week.
Yeah,
how many people tune in after.
I was one of the people that dropped The Walking Dead after that moment. And it wasn't even because of that moment. I was just tired of it by that point. It's like, this show is just like, whatever. But, so yes, I am also very interested to see where we go from here. We also got another moment that I thought was a really strong addition, in addition to him like trying to get up a little bit. After they all fucking scoot, they're like, oh, he's dead. Let's fucking leave immediately. And Ellie like crawls to him and she's just like, fucking dead behind the eyes. Her soul has been just like ripped apart and she just like lays on him and is crying onto his dead body. I was like, oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
That was tough.
That was so bad.
Shot from just up top.
Oh, the shot from above. Oh, it was so tough.
It's my desktop wallpaper right now.
Whoa,
I'm a sicko.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Just a
you're
joke.
You're a sicko.
It's just joking. Or am I?
Can I share a moment if anyone hasn't listened to the HBO podcast? And this made my heart literally like rip out of my chest. And it honestly adds so much knowing how close Pedro and Bella are too. But there was a moment where they say that they call out a moment between Pedro and Bella like off screen where it says, "Isn't it so strange how a life-changing thing like this came along so late for me in life and so early for you in life?" Talking about like their experience with The Last of Us. Oh my God, so good.
Yeah.
I love it.
Also, going back to the actual Moida, because, that's what we're talking about here.
Of course.
I am glad. So here's the thing. I didn't like how much they showed his face. I felt like that was just a little extra for me. But I did like that they changed it from golf club to the temple to golf club handle to the neck. It just was, I feel like it was just, I didn't need to see his face fucking cave in and
blood squirting out of his skull.
Yeah.
You didn't want to see that?
I didn't need that.
It's off camera though in the game. It's not direct on. And I kind of like that better.
Sure.
I don't know.
Sure.
I think that it does show though how fucking brutal Abby was, that she broke the golf club on him. I do like though that you see Bella or you see Ellie take it out of his neck in that one scene. I mean, I don't like it. Let's be clear, but like, I think
that's true.
Adds.
You can't do that. Like, sorry, I'm totally cutting you off. Finish your thought.
True.
Yeah, no, that's all I was saying. Like, I don't like it. Let's be clear.
Sure.
But like, I do think the change. I don't know. It did seem a little. It was definitely more brutal.
Yeah,
God, but also,
so much more brutal.
I don't think it was.
Like,
I don't think this.
You don't think so?
To me, this wasn't as brutal. But they did, because of the golf club being broken. They did sort of lean into like she beat him so much that the golf club broke. So like, but you obviously no one really wants to see that. The game's pretty vivid too. Like even though it's off camera, like I still I also just sort of like, it gets me the last hit with the golf club in the game, and just like the silent ringing. Ellie like is drowned. It's like that gives me nightmares. That is a tough part to sit through. So I was interested to see like how brutal they get in the game, or as in the game. And to me, it wasn't as brutal. It just wasn't. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just that moment where it was just like silent, and you're just seeing the blood squirt out his head. It was rough. Sorry, we were getting brutal here, but that was like, it's tough. That part in the game is really tough.
Yeah, I agree. And then Squinky does say, in their opinion, it was less brutally filmed, but the game felt more violent. But this version offered more personal moments with Ellie at the end, and made it feel more brutal as to how I think it landed, which I think I would agree. Like, I do think I like what Jerica mentioned about which you do get a little bit more, like Ellie in the game is like dry heaving and like absolutely like losing her shit, which she does in the show too. But like Ashley Johnson just did such a phenomenal job, like and I love Bella Ramsey as Ellie, but I don't know that I have a big preference on the stab versus the golf club.
That's gonna have to be a shirt now too. It's going to be
such a weird podcast.
Sure.
First of all.
No, it's like it's a topic of the night. Let's have the chat vote.
Yeah.
What would they have rather seen?
Why do we care?
Here's one thing, though.
Let me do that. I'll do that.
To poke a hole in my own opinion, I do miss that because she doesn't crack his head open. They were talking about this in either the post credits or the podcast. I forget which, but Craig was talking about how there's this, like, one of the kind of story, like kind of plot pieces is we don't see Abby seeing her dad dead with his brains on the floor, but now Ellie does. But she doesn't too. Where I'm like, so you're saying that she does, but you didn't because you specifically stab him in the neck as opposed to break open his brain, like they basically do in the game. So it's kind of weird. It's like you're saying this, but then you're not doing it too. But I think for me, to kind of put that aside, I think the reason that this felt more brutal to me was kind of what I was talking about earlier, of like there was just so much more that with the game. You're in the shoes of Ellie, you're searching, you're frantic, you're running around the woods, going to this cabin. You have an inkling of what you're going to walk in on, but you don't know what's happening because also Jackson's not being burned and but overrun by a horde. And so there's this like, the tension is just different because of how they're presenting the information. Whereas here, like I was saying earlier, we're at like a 9 the whole time. And then we go to a 10. And instead of like 10-4, 10-5, 10-6, 10-8, 10-10, like we kind of like, there's like that secondary build happening. So for me, that's why it felt more brutal in the show, because everything was just so fucking crazy and stressful, and people are dying, and now Joel's dying, and they're showing it a whole lot more than they do in the game, and I don't like seeing Joel dying, and so that's why I felt like it was more brutal personally.
Also in the show, Abby beats him with her fist, which doesn't happen in the game. You don't see her beating him with her fist. From what I have seen, like it is strictly the golf club.
It is, yeah.
But you get to see like her beating him with her fist, which is also like, I mean, again, that's where I started to be a little bit more bought in with the Abby, like her, like the fear that is created from her. But I don't know. I think that they probably did the stab because they wanted Bella to like yank it out of him and to have that like final moment.
Sure.
Which, by the way, poll live now, if you would rather say
good
stab with golf club or hit with golf club.
So
far, unanimously hit with golf club is winning.
Okay.
So we're
sickos.
Oh, we got a bunch of sickos here. This is the things we debate on this podcast.
I guess it depends on who you ask. So
true.
It does.
True.
Yeah.
True. What we skipped was Ellie promising to kill every single one of them, which W in the chat for that. I can't wait for that to happen. And then, we start a little final montage with Ashley Johnson singing Through the Valley, a cover of a song. And we see the aftermath of Jackson. We see that they have survived, but at what cost? A lot of people dead, not Tommy and Maria. But a couple people will be like, oh, I'm bit, please shoot me. That kind of stuff was happening all around Jackson.
That's exactly how he sounded.
He sounded just like that. Yeah, he was from like South London, maybe.
Good job.
Thank you. And then we see Abby's crew going off into the tundra, heading back to Seattle. And then this was like the nail in the coffin for me of like, what? Like, why are we? I don't like this choice. But it's just because it made me uncomfortable. Them dragging Joel's body behind the horse. Like, just put him on Dina's horse. Put him on the back of Dina's horse.
My girlfriend was like, there's enough room for him on the back of the horse,
There
y'all.
is so much room on the back of the horse.
Also, Joel's horse missing. Where's the other horse?
Sure.
Hello?
Hello?
And somebody said earlier in the chat, horse spinoff win.
Call up the horse. Someone get the horse on the walkie. Every
Y'all
5
really
seconds.
left them out there like that. I do think that was unnecessary, the dragging. That was kind of silly.
And like the blood spots, all that shit. Mr. Treehorn says technically 2 horses missing. Oh, sure.
Oh, that's
Ellie's
true.
and Joel's, I guess. Or, you know, whoever, whether they're on Jesse's or Ellie's horse.
There's a lot of missing horses. I would try to find them before that.
If that means we can avoid Shimmer's death.
Well, no, they're probably on. Shimmer was one of those horses. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That they bring home.
The no-name horses are just going to be wild horses now.
Yeah.
Ooh, Ryan says, maybe it's not Joel's body. That's a great point. That is a great point. Just a big old bag of
It's Abby's body. They already killed her. The show's over. Goodbye.
Love it. And then, that's the end of the episode. Then they show us some previews for next week and send us on our way.
Can I just add?
Yeah. What did we miss, Kayla?
This is not a miss. This is for the after the credits. So I don't want to interrupt the end of the episode.
No. Jump in. Yeah.
They do confirm that we will see more of Joel at the end of the episode, after the credits. They do say that, what was his exact words? I wrote it down. Craig says this is not the last we will see of Joel. We will get, and so that insinuates we'll get flashbacks for the gaps. Because they do specifically call out the gaps in, he addresses that you may see that there's like an abrupt jump from when they're not okay to when they're okay. So I definitely think we'll get more of that as we go on. And they kind of confirm that a little bit. So.
I wonder if we start next episode with a Joel flashback.
When do we get, because now, the conversation was Eugene was a Firefly and they were all trying to figure out why did Joel have to kill, it sounds like he got bit maybe, Joel killed Eugene. But I'm curious if when we get that in the episode, I'm also curious, like, is it because he found out that he was a Firefly and that he was afraid that he was going to rat her out, or rat Ellie out to the Fireflies, maybe? And he said that he got bit because, like, Gail's mad about how he did it. So it sounds like he did it in a very shitty way. So that maybe doesn't have a lot of evidence. Maybe she couldn't see the body. I don't fucking know. Like,
Jerica, you are bringing the heaters tonight.
Brilliant.
Listen, I made that connection and I was like, oh, because I've been trying to figure out, like, why would he kill him? Like, it's a character we don't even know. So, like, and that was the only thing I could think of. Like, if I was him.
That's good.
Mr. Treehorn points out that Ellie seemed to have a knowing look when Jesse pointed out that he was a Firefly. So, I could see that. And I honestly, my first instinct when you guys were talking about Eugene was like, why the fuck do we care about Eugene still?
Sure.
But I hear you and I see how that can be beneficial. But again, 7 episodes. Let me point out.
5 left.
Let me point out.
Damn.
But do we see Abby again?
Yeah.
I think we see a little bit of Abby. Yeah.
A little bit?
Because, like, you're going to see Isaac and stuff, too. So, like, we're going to get back to the WLF. And, like, I'm sure that's where we starting to see, like...
That's true. He got cast, and we have clips.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be, like, 80-20 Ellie to Abby the rest of the season, personally.
Okay. That makes sense. And I do think, like... Can I just say that a lot of the trailers that we've seen have covered pretty much what we've seen so far.
Sure.
Like we don't have a lot of scenes left that we've seen images of. Like we have the hospital scene of Ellie waking up, which I think is the next episode.
It is, yeah.
Where she has the bandages and like is waking up from her nightmare. I think that's next episode. And then we have the red like flashing light scene, which we originally thought I think was kind of associated with I don't remember what we said. We thought that was
we
wrong.
were saying that's like day one Seattle when they're
Yeah.
heading toward. I think after that bit is when they get to the theater in the game. So that would probably be like episode 4 ish.
Yeah.
Because it seems like next episode's going to be aftermath, starting the journey to go to Seattle. It seems.
And do we think that the whole initial journey of Ellie and Dina is still that Tommy goes after him first? Do we think that's still what happens? Seeing as how Tommy's more integrated into Jackson, he has his family, and how that happens in the game is he goes looking for Abby himself.
Who's gonna shoot Manny though? That's got to be in the game, right? Or got to be in the show.
Tommy will still go. I wonder if instead of going before them, if he goes like after or something. I don't know. But
almost like reverse.
Yeah.
He'll
definitely go though.
Yeah.
He's got to go.
He's got to go.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He has a whole family. He has his child. He has Maria. He has responsibility. Like, I don't know.
I'm interested to see how it impacts it for sure.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. But I think especially with them showing how hard Tommy was trying to get Joel back this episode, I think that was their way of like connecting that. Of like, obviously they're brothers and Tommy will go to bat for Joel. I think that wouldn't be a hard thing to accept as an audience that doesn't know the story. But I feel like they're setting up that Tommy's going to go out too. I'd be surprised if they don't do that.
Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, I was just curious, like, and we're kind of into the segment of like looking ahead, what we think, like what our predictions are.
What if they don't show him leaving first, but he does leave, but it's after Ellie this time, and then he does show up sometime, and we're like, oh shit, he did follow her.
Oh yeah, that's like a surprise, maybe.
Yeah,
potentially.
Yeah, like maybe when Jesse, if that happens, maybe when Jesse catches up to them, he's like, oh, hey, Tommy came too, and now we need to find Tommy. Maybe.
Oh yeah, and they're like, what do you mean Tommy came? Like we have no idea, because again, I think we have Dina, a more bought in Dina too. Yeah. So like there is that like layer of addition onto that, which. Or maybe we're wrong and like Dina isn't necessarily more bought in. Maybe she's scared. More of like, no, we should not fucking go after Abby because she did this.
Could be.
I don't know.
Could be.
Could be.
Yeah, I feel like next episode I think is going to be a lot more in Jackson, starting like and maybe ending with leaving for Seattle, and then episode 4 we start getting some Sarah fight stuff. We start getting some more WLF stuff. But I don't know. We'll see. Any other prediction type things?
No, I feel like for me, my timeline kind of still stays the same. I go back and forth on what I think Abby's level of involvement is going to be.
Sure.
Because again, like I just don't know what else you're going to be able to give her character to make us her fan. If that makes sense. Like,
sure.
And no, at no point are you like her fan, you know what I mean? Like that's a stretch, but like, I don't know what's going to get us brought back. I guess maybe the flashbacks. Maybe we don't get that till towards the end of the season, but I don't know.
Sure.
I'm still kind of like all up in the air on the timeline, personally.
We'll have to wait and see. I almost forgot. I want to bring in some stuff from the Discord. If you don't know, we have a thread for each episode in our Discord, dropinDropoutPod.com to join. And so, we have some thoughts from the audience. We'll start with our own Dumpster Boy. Cayman says, I'll say it. The action sequence superseded the emotional ending of the episode, which undercuts arguably the most critical moment of the show so far. We also got from Big Wolfie, the Jackson part is cool, but for me, it feels like they're trying to be The Walking Dead for the normies. LOL normies. Otherwise, they wouldn't watch a zombie show because last season they complained that, quote, there were no zombies. We also got Heroic Headgear saying that they hate that they took away the Dina and Ellie scene at Eugene's hideout. I still think we'll get a version of it just later in the season. Too. That's a Patrick editorializing.
That's the least thing I'm worried about is that.
Yeah. And then High Score Weekly, I liked how Joel tried to lift his head and make eye contact and move his hand towards Ellie in the game. He's already knocked out. I think it's a good ad and makes it more emotional. I agree. I agree. So just some thoughts. If you want to have your thoughts on our show next week, join the Discord. We also just have a big old thread talking about our thoughts. I'm naughty. I jump in there the morning after to talk, even though I should save it for the podcast, but I just can't help myself, Jerica.
I would have been in there too. I got a little behind this morning. But after having this conversation this evening, I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of watching Joel die. I don't want to do it anymore.
Same.
Let's move
I
on to
don't wanna
someone
do
else
this anymore.
getting murdered.
Abby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take her down.
Spoiler. I'm just kidding. No, I agree. I'm ready to see what happens next. I don't know if the whole next episode is just like Jackson rebuilding.
Sure.
I don't know. That seems like a little bit of a stretch. And do we have a name yet for the next episode?
We
I don't
do.
think we do.
We do. We have a
Ooh,
name
do
for
we?
all the rest of the episodes. Let's see real fast.
Ooh, okay.
IMDb.com, The Last of Us. We talked about this
Ryan
last week,
Selby
but I
said-
already forget.
Jerica says this while her desktop background is literally dead, Joel.
It was a joke.
Oh, they took it off IMDb.
This is a joke.
Let's see. Last.
I think that it's not available because I don't think we had this name until. Oh wait,
This
wait,
one
no, no.
we didn't have, but the rest of the season we
Yeah.
did. Because we
We
talked
have
about
it.
it last week.
We have it. I got it right here.
Hell yeah.
Episode 3. Something's got a hold on me.
Something's got a hold on me. What is that?
Ooh. Okay, and then episode 4, secrets.
Huh?
Episode 5, wolves. Episode 5. Episode 6, scars.
I remember that one now.
Episode 7, every last one of them. Yes. 111.
That is the next episode. Something's got a hold on me is from one of the songs that Ashley Johnson sings.
It
right?
is.
Which song is
Yeah.
that?
So
that-
there's a song, True Faith.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like used in like promotion that promotional like CGI trailer before the game came out. Which
Well,
is
also the one that from last night's episode was in that very, very, very 1st trailer.
Correct.
I'll have to go listen to that one again. I don't remember this True Faith one.
It's a good song.
I have this little vinyl of the Last of Us Part 2 music, but
Yeah,
I don't
listen
remember
to it. It's
I'll have
great.
to.
Put it on the whole turntable with the
Ooh.
needles and the spinnies.
give it a little spin. This is your DJ, Patrick, on the ones and twos.
Wicka pea swaggy.
Jerica, should we go home?
I don't know about y'all. I'm here.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
Where are y'all at?
I record down the street at my neighbor's house.
Cool.
Well, I'm here, but I'm not here,
Sure.
It's been a good
All right,
one.
y'all.
Thank you guys for being here. It's been a really fun convo. I love that we can all be friends and sometimes disagree. We love to see it. And we'll catch you next time.
Last
Bye.
time that Joel dies, hopefully. Watch there be a
Hopefully.
play, though. Next, there's a play.
Play is so funny.
Musical.
Not a play.